The Hebrew word translated into awe in the Bible is yir'ah. It often directly translates into fear, like fear of the Lord, but it can also mean respect, reverence, and worship. So why yir'ah? Proverbs 9:10 says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding." In a world that is so broken and torn apart, I believe is the result from the lack of fear of the Lord. In this podcast, I want to dissect what it means to fear the Lord. Why is there so much evil? Why are so many people broken? What is the answer for a world that is so confused and afraid? In a world where there is unlimited truth, we want to look at the one truth without compromise. That truth is the Word of God.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Yir'ah Podcast. It's episode, I'm
11.
going to guess, is it 11? I was going to guess 10.
Pretty sure.
11. Episode 11. And how long have we been doing this? Like 7
I don't actually
months,
know.
6? I think, actually, almost probably like 10 months.
Really?
I think we started in like last June. Last June, because we did
really?
Pride Month. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, what is that? June, July, August, September, October, November, December,
January,
February, March. Yeah, 10 months. Oh.
Wow.
10 months and 11 episodes.
I was just thinking about that the other day, and I was thinking it was like September.
Oh, really?
Like last September.
No, yeah, it was
like,
beginning of summer.
It does not feel that long ago.
We're averaging one episode a month.
Perfect. That's fine.
Adds value.
Yeah, it's
more of a demand. Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, Isaac has got some stuff more than me. But we're kind of discussing waiting, and we actually had a conversation yesterday.
Yeah.
2 days ago, and I was just like, I kind of opened up, was just kind of like struggling. I have like ADHD, not in like I can't sit still, which kind of, but like I always want to change like my situation or scenery. Like just I struggle with discontentment, I guess, and so we were kind of talking about that. Mm-hmm. And so, but yeah,
but it's also something I've been kind of
you as
working through lately as well. Is working through feelings of discontentment or feeling like there's always something better. But yeah, like we just want to kind of dig into like when you feel like you're not where you're supposed to be or not where you want to be, and you feel like you're waiting on God to show you what the next steps are, or just in general, talking about the waiting period. That's something that every single believer is going to experience. Is a period of probably multiple times you're going to go through seasons where you feel like you're just waiting on God to give you direction. You're waiting on Him to like bring you to something new, or maybe you just feel dissatisfied with your current situation, so you feel like you want to move on to something new.
Change will fix it somehow.
Yeah. So it's like a little bit of talking about how to just be content first and foremost, maybe, but how do we be patient, and how do we wait on the Lord in a healthy way that doesn't, because I think the waiting period can really easily become, or make you just become like kind of almost like bitter, and like you just can become like pessimistic and just angry about life, because everything just becomes like, it's just not what I want it to be. It's not where I'm supposed to be. I feel like I deserve something better and I'm not there. And it's like, God, why aren't you giving me that? We get this like very entitled attitude. Like, God, why can't you just give me something better or something new?
Yeah.
You know?
I think also you start to like dream of what your life could be. And so
Yeah.
you're constantly like thinking, oh, it could be this, or it could be, it could look like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you just constantly, everything that you do or every situation you're in, you like have a view of just like, it could be better.
Right.
Like you just have, just a view of like discontentment on everything.
It's like constant, the grass is always greener somewhere else mindset.
Yeah.
Which I think is such a lie 90% of the time. When you're feeling that, I think it's not actually a true perspective. Whoa.
What the heck?
What's beeping?
Let me just freaking mute that. I accidentally set a timer. Set a stopwatch.
Oh. New mistake. Anyways. I forgot what I was saying now.
You're talking about grass is greener on the other side.
Yeah.
Which isn't true.
I think most of the time it's not true, and it's just a distraction that makes you miss the value of where you're at currently. And even if where you're at currently is not your final place, maybe where you're at currently is like a stepping stone, or God does have something new for you and something more for you.
Mm-hmm.
But when we always have this idea of my mind is always in the future, it's always somewhere else, it's always coveting something somewhere else, then we're not able to actually receive the purpose of where we're at currently. And usually, whether you're satisfied with it or not, your current situation is probably God's path for you to get to what he has next.
Yeah.
But when we're so disconnected from the present and not engaged with it, we're almost like slowing ourselves down and keeping ourselves from what God has for us next. Something God has really taught me is that the quickest way to get to where I am taking you is to be fully present with where I have you today. And when I was at North Central a few years back, this is something I was really working through, because that was a state of my life where everything was unknown. Everything that I wanted to be was not in my life yet. Like, I felt like God was calling me to be a pastor, and I wanted to be a husband and want to have a family and all this stuff. And yeah, all my greatest desires and things that I feel like God was showing me, I'm calling you to do this and I have this for you. Mm-hmm. Like, he made that clear to me, but I took that, God showing me my future, I took that and it caused me to be unpresent and just like live in anxiety and fear about where I'm going. But I had a moment after a chapel service at North Central, and God spoke so clearly to me, and he was like, Isaac, I don't show you what I have for you in the future so that you can sit and worry and stress yourself out about how you're going to make it happen and get yourself there. Mm-hmm. I show you what I have for your future so that you can fully trust that have a plan for your life and you can be present with today. You don't have to worry about what's going to happen tomorrow and the future, because I've shown you I have a plan. So that's why you can be present today and be faithful with what's in front of you. And that was just, I don't know, that just like really clicked for me. Or it's like, it's not like the first time I had ever heard of that or thought about that, but for some reason it just like, God really just kind of made it, I don't know, just presented it so clearly to me. And not that I've never, I still struggle with like being fully present at times, but it definitely has taught me to have a much greater appreciation for where am I at right now, currently, whether it's ideal or not, learning to just fully embrace whatever your life is. Mm-hmm. whatever the reality of your life is, you need to be engaged with it.
Right.
And then you will find value in it, and it will bring progress and fruit in your life if you can just be fully present. So I think first and foremost, when we're in this waiting period, or we don't have the things we feel like God is leading us to, we need to first come to a place of just being like present and still being able to be content and grateful for where God has us at.
Yeah.
Even if we believe he has more for us, you know?
Yeah. You know my personality. I very like I don't even know how to describe it. Just I pick up new stuff and drop other stuff all the time,
Yeah.
like new activities or hobbies, and then once I do it, I'm like boom, out the door onto something else.
Mm-hmm.
And so in general, I think my personality is just like I always want to do something different and constantly looking. And when we were talking, like my eyes definitely were open, like when we had that conversation. But I was just looking back on like where I've been. I mean, I'm only 22, so it's like I went to school, 18 years, and then I went to a few different spots. But
you're like still barely getting started with life.
But I'm just like looking back even at where I had been in other situations. Like I never gave the places I was in like a chance, or I can't say I was ever like faithful.
Just 100% present.
100% present. Like I was always looking for something else, or like always looking like, okay, where am I gonna go from here? Like what is this gonna bring me to in the future? It was never like, okay, I'm here. I have to put all my effort into this, this place or this situation. I was always looking for something else, and just like, I don't know. I always had a mindset of discontentment, even though I didn't even like think like that, or know it was that. But even when I moved back here, like it was still like, I don't know. All right, where am I gonna go from here? Like
everything is always a stepping stool to something next.
Yeah. And so, our conversation just kind of opened my eyes. It's like I have never given anything a chance to like be fruitful, and it's always like, all right, I've done this for a little bit. Let's go do something else. And so nothing good can ever come from it, which is, I don't know.
Yeah.
Pretty big.
I was also talking about this with Pastor Andy, and because I've also just like being a pastor and being in ministry, I've struggled a lot with, I don't know, just feeling content or feeling like, can I keep doing this for the rest of my life or whatever? Again, kind of falling into that mindset of like, oh, maybe there's something else I should be doing that would be easier or more maintainable, or what, I don't know. Really, probably like would just make me more comfortable or whatever. But Pastor Andy had just like said something where he was like, well, what about your situation could change to make you feel content? Or everywhere you go, will you still feel the same way you feel right now because it's an issue of your heart? It's an internal issue of discontentment. Is it really a problem with your circumstance and where you're actually at? Or is it just a problem in your heart, And that will follow you everywhere you go. And that's like kind of what we were talking about a couple days ago,
Yeah.
Where so much of being happy and being fulfilled is just learning to have a heart of contentment and learning to be fulfilled in your relationship with the Lord and Like when you can just be content in your heart, and that's a posture of your heart, and your heart is, fully secure in your relationship with the Lord and all that, then it doesn't matter where you're at. You can be content.
Mm-hmm.
You can be fulfilled. Even if it wasn't your ideal situation,
Right.
you can have complete joy and be completely fulfilled. And you can be everything that God's called you to be. Like, we have to realize that our purpose and our fulfillment actually has nothing to do with our title or our current situation or what house we're living in, what city we're living in, all of that. Because you can change that stuff 100 times over, and you'll still feel just as discontent as ever. There'll still always be something better you're waiting for because there's something wrong in your heart. And I think that's probably the majority of the time the case when anyone's feeling discontent or feeling frustrated about where they're at and feeling like they need God to take them to something new.
Mm-hmm.
It's like maybe God is trying to force you to stay here in this uncomfortability so you can learn how to be content in your heart and learn how to be fulfilled and not be so fragile to where your fulfillment and your joy is based on your physical circumstances, But that was just another thing that really, kind of just clicked for me lately, is just the importance of having contentment in your heart. And that's something you can always just be in a state of contentment no matter what is in your life.
Yeah.
And that's something you can intentionally practice, I think, even through just practicing like thankfulness. That's been something I've been trying to having all kinds of fun stuff going on today. Whatever. Lately I've just been treating thankfulness as like a spiritual discipline.
Yeah.
To like try to start my day off with, just as much as I would wake up and pray or spend time in the Word, wake up and just take time to just thank God for all the things in my life. Even the things that I don't always feel thankful for.
Yeah.
But like when we just practice thankfulness and gratitude, that also, I've just noticed it's completely shifted my perspective on my current situation. And it makes me go from feeling like I don't have what I need and I don't have enough in my life to like, I'm like, man, I have so much more than I could ever even possibly ask for. And like, why would I ever be unhappy with where I'm at? Why would I ask God for anything more? Because I just remember I've been given far more than I ever deserved already.
Yeah.
Like we need to realize how much of a state of blessing and abundance we are always in, even just as believers, as Christians. If you know Jesus, God does not owe you anything. He's given you so much more than you ever deserve.
Yeah.
And we always have a reason to be content,
That's the other thing too. I was like, man, how stupid do I sound when I am like discontent in my current situation? Because if I look at my life, like it's like, what do I have to complain about?
Right.
Especially me. Like I mean, other people definitely have way more reasons to be discontent than I do. Like I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
There's nothing wrong in my current situation. It's just it's just like a, I don't know, entitlement that for some reason you carry around.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I just look like a total idiot.
Yeah. It can be pretty humbling
But
sometimes. But yeah, I think we just need to recognize how blessed we really are and recognize the value of every situation that we're in. Like the uncomfortable or unideal situation can be just as if not more valuable than like when you arrive, the arrival place, And God usually takes us through a process of arriving because it's so valuable, because he's working something in us and teaching us something through the waiting, through being patient.
Mm-hmm.
We learn how to have faith. We learn how to trust. There's a reason why God doesn't give us the whole playbook and give us all the answers, because he wants us to put our faith in him. He wants us, and that forces us to engage in our relationship with God. So don't overlook the opportunity you have to grow deeper in your walk with the Lord through not having everything figured out and through being in a waiting place. God puts us in a waiting place so that we can be engaged with him and seek him and actually hunger for him. If we are always in a place where we have all the answers and we are perfectly satisfied with everything, then we lose sight of God. And this is such a human thing, and we see it all throughout Scripture. The Israelites, as soon as they enter a place of like blessing and promise, all of a sudden God is just irrelevant, and they go back to all the sin and the false idols that put them in a place of like being cursed,
Yeah.
And then they go to that place and they're like, God, help us, save us. And then God is good to them and then brings them back into a place of like promise and blessing. And then they forget about him,
Yeah.
And so, we can't forget about God in the blessing either. But I just think we need to almost see the struggle as a blessing because of how it points us to God.
Yeah.
And that is that's what we need more than anything, is our relationship with God to thrive. And usually the waiting place and the dry place is like the prime place for our walk with the Lord to flourish and to grow, because it's being tested and refined.
Yeah. It's, this isn't any sort of like crazy revelation, but just like the Israelites, turning to other gods.
Mm-hmm.
When, like, years ago, I used to like, dude, that's so stupid. Like, why
so
they,
dumb.
like, Moses leaves and then they immediately like make golden calves or whatever. It's like, what do you mean God just like gave you manna and bread and delivered you from the Egyptians and all this stuff, like split the Red Sea, and it's like they're like go directly to these other gods, and I don't know, it just sounds so stupid, but when you look at your life, it's like the exact same thing. So it's just, God will do something for you, or you'll have some sort of just like, for me, you have kind of like a refreshing moment. It's like God hits you or reveals something to you, and it's like, oh my word, this is a, like your relationship with God just grows. And then, I don't know, for me, it always happens. Like I'll be growing, very consistently, and then it just slowly, like I don't even really notice it, but I slowly just fade off, and then it's just like, my relationship with God is very minimal. But
yeah, I think the crazy thing is a lot of times the very things that we're complaining about is God in the process of answering your prayers.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you just brought up the Israelite example again, but I just always think of the Israelites being delivered out of slavery from Egypt, and then God leads them into the wilderness and the desert. How many hundreds of years did the Israelites cry out to God to be liberated? And God sets them free, and he's moving them towards the promised land, but the desert was part of the route. To get it, like God is in the middle of answering their prayer and leading them to their blessing and their promise, but because the current situation was not what they wanted, or it didn't look like how they wanted God to answer it, they were instantly ready to just tap out of, like, all right, never mind, God, don't answer our prayer, we don't want it, just bring us back to what we know, what was more comfortable. And like, for any of us who are complaining about our current situation, or like, God, how come I'm not here yet? Well, how is God using where you're at right now to get you to where you think you're wanting to be, you know? Are you just
Right.
complaining about the very thing that God is using to answer your prayer, you know? And usually we kind of give up on God before he has a chance to fully unfold what he had planned for you, you know? And so, like, so much of it is just a matter of just being patient and staying faithful. And it's just a matter of time until you see the purpose of the present, the purpose of where you're at. It's just a matter of time until you step into the next thing that God has for you.
Mm-hmm.
But you just need to be willing to just be patient.
Yeah.
Let it not happen on your exact timing, and maybe not exactly how you were envisioning it to happen, you know?
Right.
But if there's anything I've learned with God, it's almost never a matter of if, but just when, you know, it's just a matter of timing. But it is a matter of also, will you allow God to bring it to pass in your, like, I think we hinder God's blessing in our life and hinder what he has next for us when we are completely disconnected from where he has us, and we're just complaining and bickering about where he's placed us. You know, that's exactly what the Israelites did. They just continued to wander in the wilderness because they were so unwilling to trust God in it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So we just got to be so careful about, like, I don't know, we get so nearsighted and we think we have it all figured out, and we think, like, all right, God, whatever you're doing right now, this is not right. This is not it. And it's like, be careful, because you might be hindering yourself from the good things that God has for you, you know? Or you might feel pretty stupid a month later when all of a sudden God blows your mind with how he was, like, working in your life, and like he was weaving together all this blessing that he had for you, you know? Like, even for me, just being in Sparta, you know, it was never in my plans originally. And there's a time when God was specifically calling me to stay in Sparta, and I was angry with him for that, and I did not want to accept that, you know. But then now, looking back on it, for me being in Sparta, God has fulfilled, like, all the greatest desires of my heart, you know. So the very thing that I was mad at God for, God was using to bring, like, the greatest blessing in my life, you know. So it's we just really, honestly, we kind of just gotta humble ourselves and be like, God is just so much greater. He's so much further beyond our understanding, and just trust that he does have your good in mind, and he is in the works. Like, just because you don't see it, I feel like we always think, like, God is just taking a nap or something, or like he's just decided to stop working, but he's always working. He's always moving, and we just need to allow God to be God, you know?
Yeah. It is hard, though, if you, I don't know, because when you're experiencing just, like, you just feel stagnant, and you reach out to God, you're trying to pray, you know, you're trying to spend time in your Bible, and it's just like you feel nothing. You know, you kind of just feel like unheard or left empty, but it's just a matter of, you know, trusting and believing that God is hearing you, God is there for you. And like you said, it is always a matter of when and not if. You know, it's like God will, if you are searching for it, God will reveal to you, you know, what he's working through you.
And when we say that, it's not like if I'm just praying for a Lamborghini every single day, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's more like it's only a matter of time until God shows you. Yeah, but his, like, what he had for you, not what your idea was.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
But yeah, I just wanted to read from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, and I feel like this kind of just speaks to what we've been speaking on about just learning how to be fully present and find the value in every season and find the value of every situation. But it just says there's a time for everything, a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, and so on. But there's a time for everything. There's an appropriate time for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And no thing that we are presently walking through is ever really forever, you know? When I'm mourning, there's a time for me to fully embrace mourning and sadness, but it's because it won't be forever, because there then will also be a time of joy.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it's time for joy, I need to be fully present with joy, you know? There's a time to be fully planted and rooted where you're at. And then there's a time where you need to get up and move to the next place, you know?
Yeah.
And just be okay with whatever the time is that you're in, because you know whatever it is, it's not forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of the thing that is hard for us to be present with where we're at, because we're scared like, oh, this is just going to be the rest of my life.
Yeah.
If I embrace this, nothing will ever change, you know?
Right.
But that attitude is almost the thing that keeps things from ever changing, you know? And I just feel like the writer in Ecclesiastes, this is just so much wisdom to recognize the things that everybody tries to rush away from and rush out of. He's like, no, there's a time for those things too. There's just as much value in the morning as in the joy. There's just as much value in the planting as the uprooting.
Yeah.
When it's the right time for it, you know? So yeah, I just feel like that kind of can just speak to just learning to be fully present, you know?
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like when we were talking the other day, it was, you know, I mentioned if this is my, you know, current situation kind of for the rest of my life, it feels very just underwhelming. Like very, you know, like if this is the peak, like that sucks, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of as we're talking and like after, it was just like God 100% just revealed to me, you know, like I was saying before, it's just like you have never given anything a chance. You know, you've never given anything a chance to be fruitful and to be faithful in this situation and to pour everything you have in your current situation. So you you have no idea what is to come from this, you know? And so it was just, yeah, I don't know, cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. And I mean, we can just talking about like the value of consistency. I think we can recognize like how much fruit and value can come out of just being like permanent and planted somewhere, you know? And I think there is this kind of weird, more modern phenomena in general of always feeling like you need to move on to something bigger and better. And I don't know if that is just because of, you know, social media is always showing you something bigger and we're always seeing something bigger. And the idea of celebrity is so huge and prevalent. Like everyone grows up in the back of their head of like, how could I get famous?
Right.
What would happen? What if one day I became famous, you know? And everything in our life and our society and culture is pulling us away from the present and telling us to go somewhere else. And I was just thinking about like years and years ago before like social media and all that and the internet, people had no idea what was going on, like, 100 miles away from them.
Right.
Their eyes were set on just what's right in front of me. This is what matters. This is what's important. What's right here. They weren't worried about going and becoming some celebrity or going and having the whole world worship them,
Yeah.
They were like, I need to take care of my family. I'm going to work hard and do things that benefit my village, the people right here around me. Mm-hmm. That was what life was all about. And we hear that and we're like, oh, what a measly, horrible existence.
Yeah.
To just stay in the same place your whole life and just be faithful there. Like, oh, that sounds terrible. Don't you want to go on and do something great?
Yeah.
But what is greatness, Is it really so great to just always be pursuing something better, and like the selfishness of that I need something better than this. Mm-hmm. I deserve more. I need people to see how great I am, Or is true like greatness and a true value come from just the person who can just be planted somewhere, and care for what's right in front of them. And another thing God's been speaking to me a lot about lately is just flourish where you're planted. Mm-hmm. Why do you keep trying to uproot yourself? If you plant a plant and then you pull it up every week, it's never going to have a chance to produce anything, So anything truly fruitful or good has been there for a long time.
Yeah.
Has been planted for a long time. And I just in general, like good things in life take time. Mm-hmm. And God takes time with things, God can do things in an instant, in a moment, but a lot of times God asks us to do things over an extended period of time. But yeah, like what would happen with wherever you're at, whatever situation you're in, if you would just be fully present with that situation and do it for an extended period of time? What kind of fruit would you see come from that? And how much would your perspective change when you start seeing good fruit come? All of a sudden you're like, oh wait, this thing that this city, this town that I thought was so boring and terrible, this job I thought was so horrible, all of a sudden I'm starting to see it produce good things. I'm starting to build more meaningful relationships. I'm starting to see God use me in my workplace. I'm starting to see things grow. I'm starting to see myself add value to where I'm at.
Right.
And that is what makes you start feeling like my life matters. My life means something. Mm-hmm. I don't need to go somewhere else because something really great is starting to happen where I'm at, and I want to keep being a part of that, and I want to keep seeing that grow.
Yeah.
And I just think if we all started having the mindset of, instead of wanting to go be a part of greatness somewhere else, what if I gave all my effort into making where I'm at great? Mm-hmm. If you can be present where you're at, your situation will become what you were coveting somewhere else,
Yeah.
And the reason why there's something else somewhere else to covet is because somebody was faithful and consistent with what was right in front of them. And so really the very way to get what you're hoping to have someday is probably by getting your eyes off of what's out there and putting them on what's right here. And that's also way harder, though.
Yeah.
It takes patience, and it can be a grind, And you don't see that instant gratification. It's more of a slow, day after day, step after step process. And then after years even, you can look back and then start to just be baffled by how incredible your life has become, and how much blessing God has brought in your life, and the miracles you've seen God do. But I just think we steal ourselves from the opportunity to see that when we uproot ourselves constantly. There are times when we're called to move, but it should be because God is giving you very clear direction that he's calling you to move somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I think when that is the case, it will be very clear, you know.
Yeah.
Like when God wants you to move, I think he makes it known.
Right.
Until then, I think we need to be just fully present and keep our eyes on what's in front of us.
Yeah. I kind of wanted to jump back, you know, talking about like fame. Everyone kind of has that idea of just like chasing something or chasing being like great and known for something. Mm-hmm. And John Gates, who spoke at the All Nighter last night, one of the things he said was, if you want to live a miserable life, like make everything about you. Like, live a selfish life. And I've watched this video too. He kind of, I don't even know what the YouTuber is, but he kind of makes these like cinematic videos, and one of them was how to ruin your life, and it was like a super interesting video. It was just like, some were just simple things. It's like, take your phone out whenever you feel uncomfortable and like close yourself off. Like if you're, you know, if anything kind of gets weird or uncomfortable and you don't want to talk to anyone, just take your phone out. And then it was just like, you know, don't be like a reliable person, you know, all this stuff. And then in a conversation, turn everything about, you know, you or if someone has a story, always turn it into like your story or make it somehow about you. And it was just kind of interesting. Like, he went through a ton of different stuff. It was like,
it's interesting that he's describing every American.
Every American. It is. It literally is. It was so wild. It's like, it's what everyone does, and everyone's miserable.
Yep.
And it was a really cool video. I wish I remember what it was called. Well, it was called How to Ruin Your Life, but I don't know who it was by.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it was like super. It was like, man, that's wild.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a weird, I don't know, aspect to look at.
Yeah.
But it was also cool. I mean, it wasn't like a Christian or biblical, like, meaning, I don't think at all. I don't think it was just like in general. Like, if you don't want someone to like you, this is how you do it. I think he has one like that too. Like, how to not be liked. Or how to be more liked. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
But, yeah, kind of wild.
Yeah, America definitely has an epidemic of being unpresent.
Yeah,
and being disconnected.
Any sort of uncomfort comes across, it's like, all right, how do I get out of this situation? Or how do I, which for most people, it's pull out your phone.
Yeah.
You know, look like you are doing something or that you're busy. So you don't, I don't know.
It's like every single moment that your life has a chance to be something great or something noteworthy, you tap out.
Yeah.
Because you don't recognize the value of that discomfort or the value of being tested or challenged, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we've always somehow talked about this on this podcast, but like the reason why everyone just feels so depressed and unfulfilled is because the current state of their life is just nothing, because they completely disengage themselves from life. You know, we live in like escapism.
Yeah.
We spend all day in front of screens consuming what other people are doing, or just numbing ourselves, avoiding just anything like real, you know? And it's no wonder you feel dissatisfied with your life, because your life is not producing anything, you know?
Every day is just like, okay, how can I get by?
Yeah.
Like, everyone at a classic job, it's like, oh, just working towards the weekend, you know, just working towards Friday or Saturday. And it's like, oh, it's Monday.
Even that mindset in like a minuscule form, it's not being present.
Yeah, it's always working.
I want to get to Friday.
Yeah.
Not I want to have a great day today. I want to
Yeah.
make today beautiful. I got to get to Friday. I just got to flop my way through today, you know? Like,
I don't know. I just think about, it's like, okay, you're at like an awkward group, setting, or you're at dinner with people you don't talk to ever. And it's just kind of awkward. Like, it's so easy to just like, I'll just pull out my phone and like act like I'm doing something or scrolling on Instagram. And because it's like kind of awkward, kind of weird, but instead of like trying to, I don't know, make conversation or make something valuable out of it, it's just, I'll just disconnect.
You know what I think makes your life feel valuable is when you see yourself overcome a challenge. But we never attempt to overcome the challenge. We always avoid the challenge. Like, each day presents multiple, like, small challenges that we might avoid by simply just pulling our phone out, But, like, what if you, like, took on the little challenges every day? Like, how much more valuable would your life feel? How much more would you feel good about where you're at presently, Because you're starting to see yourself, like, jump over hurdles and accomplish things,
Right.
Like, we can't even overcome the challenge of just having a conversation with another human being. How are we supposed to overcome the challenge, like real challenges,
Right.
when we lose something we love, or figuring out how to have purpose in life, or take care of people, all that stuff. It's like we can't even overcome or even attempt to overcome the smallest challenges in our life. We've completely sidelined ourselves from daily life,
Yeah, I don't know. It's wild. I saw some stat where it was like, I think it was literally like 60 or maybe 50% of like relationships are started online now. Like, you meet online, which is wild. Like, over half, or maybe it was half, that relationships are from online, like online dating websites, or just meeting online somehow. Yeah. And it's just like shows you how, I don't know. I don't want to bash on like online dating because it's totally fine, but personally, I'm just like, I don't want to. That sounds terrible. I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah.
It's just weird where like life is going. Very pixelated.
Yeah,
Everything's pixels,
it's just virtual. I think that's totally the enemy's plan, though. He doesn't want us to be in reality. He doesn't want us to recognize the reality of our life, because then we would begin to address it in real ways.
Yeah.
And we would start doing real things,
Yeah.
And then our life would start having real meaning, and we would probably connect with God more.
And that's why he's come up with so many ways to temporarily numb it or fix it. There's a million different avenues you could go down to temporarily feel okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
quick fixes.
Yeah, if you can just straight up, just altogether, just be more present with the reality of your life, your life is going to be so much better and feel so much more fulfilling. Or you're going to at least have way, way more clarity about what steps you need to take moving forward. Like, part of the problem too is like everyone hates that feeling of like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do with my life. I have no idea where I'm supposed to go. But it's because we're always just living in this weird limbo space,
And just imagine how much, I don't know, more of a, head start you'll have on everyone else if you are living present.
Yeah.
no one else is living present. Everyone's just
Right.
living to the next, like,
100%.
thing. Oh, I just can't wait to get to the weekend.
Yeah.
'Cause I'll do the bare minimum as long as I can get to the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if you have the mindset, it's like, all right, you know, like, I'm going to live fully in the present. I'm going to give 100% effort.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how much more can you get than everyone else? Like, you will get so much farther having that mindset and just, like, realizing how valuable it is to live in the present.
Yeah.
And living in the present doesn't actually suck.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
I think
it's great. It'll make you feel alive.
it's just the concept of escaping the matrix. It really is. But I'm being
always-
serious. It
it's
literally
always the
is.
Matrix.
It literally is. You're just like asleep. It's like that Adventures in Odyssey episode where they're like playing video games. It's like sucking the life out of you. I don't know what that one's called.
That cartoon one.
Yeah, the old weird dude who's like
Yeah.
12, but he's like 80
it's
years
so
old.
Weird.
Because he's like playing video games all day or something.
Yeah.
But that's it. I mean, that's how it is. It's just like it literally is sucking the life out of people.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I don't know. Everyone's zombies and are depressed and like, oh,
It is
my
bizarre.
life sucks.
It's bizarre. It's insane to think about the false productivity that's going on.
Yeah.
We're so tricked into thinking that we're doing something
Mm-hmm.
or that we're like living, you know? When you really think about the reality of like the majority of how we spend our time, it's the equivalent of me sitting down and staring at a wall without thinking
Mm-hmm.
about anything.
Yeah.
If you just picture it in that sense, it's like, what the? That seems like
Yeah, you're
some
doing nothing.
weird- like are you in like a coma or something? It's
Yeah.
like it'd probably be like sickening to
See how much time you stare at a wall.
see how much, like, how many hours
That'd be
just
interesting.
vanished.
That'd be interesting. Like, if
nothing,
you
you know?
take, like, watching a movie, just, like, unvaluable activities, I guess.
Mhm.
Watching a movie, going on, like, scrolling on Instagram, playing video games.
Yeah.
How much, if you take the hours and, like, I said, okay, this is the amount of time that you've been staring at a wall,
Mhm.
not thinking about anything, like, literally doing nothing. It's like,
Or to think about, what if those hours were spent on something else that was productive?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's
What
like,
could
look
you
how
have
much
done?
wasted time this is. That's thousands and
I mean, I
thousands
do
of
think
hours.
about that. I'm totally guilty of the thousands of hours I've put into video games. And I'm like, what if I put 5,000 hours
Into
into
something else.
into an instrument,
And-
into a craft, into whatever?
But that's just
you know?
video
Like,
games. I mean, like, for me, it's definitely like social media.
Mhm.
It's like my screen time right now is really high. I think it's like 4 hours or 5 hours, which actually,
that's not even high for
Which-
people.
yeah, but
No.
I know it's like 8 hours.
I mean, that
for
is
most
high,
people.
but
it is high.
It's
if you
crazy to
about
think
it.
that that's
5
like
hours
the
a day.
low end.
5 hours a day.
Yeah.
It's mostly at night, but it's like
But still, when you think about, though, how much time you
I'm not really ever doing anything productive on my
after you're like, you work 8 hours in a day, you sleep however many hours in a day. So then if your screen time is 5 hours,
phone. Yeah.
that means any other time outside of work or sleeping is just on a screen,
It's
you know?
Yeah, it's, I don't know. And then, I don't know, most people, you know, also play video games or are watching TV shows or movies.
Yeah.
Where it's like, all that stuff isn't bad it's all user error.
Yeah.
It's all, like, not harmful.
Yeah, we just totally abuse
But
it.
it is, yeah, if you abuse it, then it is harmful. But,
Mhm.
yeah, it's stupid. If you realize how much you could get done.
Yeah.
Yeah, genius plan on, I don't know, Satan's part. Just
Yeah.
completely distract everyone.
Yep.
That's
Seems to
wild.
be working so far. Because we let it work.
Yeah, that's wild.
But-
Anyways,
Yeah. We just gotta Just wake up and come to full terms with the reality of your life, whether you like it or not. Nothing will happen from just running away or ignoring it. So just like have a real talk with yourself and be like, no more thinking about where I want to be or what I don't have. What do I have? What is in my life? And what do I need to do about what's right here, right now? And that is the answer. That's the solution. And in the meantime, trust and know that God is in the works, that he does have a plan for you, and you will see him reveal himself if you just continue to trust in him and wait on him, and just have a posture of a heart that trusts the Lord with your future, and trust the Lord with your future, or doing that will allow you to be present. So, yeah.
About sums it up.
Yeah, I think that's all we got for today.
For episode 11.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We'll catch you in the next one.
Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening.